Starting the recording. Hello, everyone. This is episode 507 of the OotiniCast, being recorded on 19th of February 2025. And this is the raw version of the show, going out with all flubs and flaws intact. And then we will take the raw version, clean up the audio, put it out as a podcast tomorrow. And then also we'll put the raw version of the show, which is being broadcast at twitch.tv/OotiniCast. We'll put the raw recording up on YouTube. And yeah, so for people who are watching, you can already see it's just me today. Kitty has some things going on. He's not available today. Totally understand it. It's no worries. And he's going to be fine, by the way. It's not like he's ill or anything like that. It's all good. But he did need the day off. So we are flying solo today. And yeah, we're basically at the top of the hour, so let me go ahead and get a drink here, relax my jaw, and then we'll get going here. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and put a couple claps in, just so it makes it easier to find the beginning of the actual episode. Hi, and welcome to the OotiniCast, the podcast that must have hidden the plans in the escape pod. This is episode 507, being recorded on Wednesday, February 19th, 2025. I'm your host, Chill, and my co-host, KittyKissz, is out today. He is unavailable, but he's doing fine. He just needed the time off. So we will roll right into what I've been doing since our last show. I've been doing several things, actually, including some off-stream. So unfortunately, the Jar Jar Joyride has been unavailable. Last Friday, when we normally run it, was Valentine's Day. There's just enough people who were saying they weren't going to be available that we just bagged it. Also, some people have been sick, so we haven't been able to do a Jar Jar Joyride for a couple weeks, but that's okay. It happens. Instead, though, I was able to get some operations going because of KittyKissz. He's been starting to do operations on Saturdays. It's like noon Pacific is when he's been doing it. And so he's just starting out. So I was a healer in EV, and then I did my main marksman sniper in Karaga's Palace. Both of these are story mode, and the general idea seems to be, and we can talk about with this kitty next time, but it seems like he's doing the story modes and then working through those, and then we'll move to like the harder modes later on. So I think he does want to have sort of like a proper team and do this regularly on Saturdays. So if you're interested, actually check in with them. Like I say, Saturday is noon Pacific on the Satil Shan, and so far at least it's always been pub side. And but it's been a lot of fun. I did my little sage / sork healing thing, and that was fun. I did it with the TK Blitz. It's not as serious, for operations. Actually, that was kind of interesting to do because I've done that spec on the PvP side, and I think the TK Blitz thing works fine there, but in operations, you really need to have accuracy in order to hit, otherwise you're going to miss a fair bit, and if it misses or it gets blocked by anything, then you don't get a bounce, so the healing doesn't happen. And so in PvP, where you don't actually need accuracy for force and tech attacks, which TK Blitz is considered a force attack, it's fine, because you don't need to go out of your way, but I did try to do it with, but you have to do so much accuracy to get to like 5 or really 10% against the operation bosses that it really feels like it's going a little bit too far out of the way for it. So I think, if I get more serious about operation healing on a Sork, operations wise at least, I would drop the TK Blitz, drop the accuracy, and just go with something typical like the one extra bounce on the one heal or whatever. I think that's the one that most people go with. And but it was fun. And Karaga's Palace was fun too. And since that was on my main marksman sniper, I was able to be of a lot of help there. Yeah, and before that we did KittyKissz and I did quite a bit of PvP since the last show. Our lobies are now highbies, and I was going full alacrity on the Carnage Marauder, but it wasn't quite working for me. Like it was fun, like I was hitting a lot, but I feel like it was missing out on some damage. So I kept the alacrity augments because why not? But I'm starting to use some crit enhancements instead and sort of balance things out a little better. And the damage did seem to get a little bit better after that. Still fairly squishy, but that short invisibility ability that you get, it's like a 45-second cooldown. It's remarkably useful because it clears debuffs as well. So you can use it to break... you can't break hard CC, but you can break things like roots. And makes you fast and invisible for 6 seconds. So there's lots of offensive and defensive ways to use it. It's really interesting. It makes the whole spec pretty interesting and fun to do. I kept working on determining what 80 PvP spec I want to use most. And I've really tried most of the ones that I'm going to try, I think, at this point. I have a couple more that I probably will try out. The final contenders for me are Juggernaut or Guardian Skank Tank, because I like the Skank Tank version better on that one. Also Sage or Sork Healer with the TK Blitz whole thing, not adding any accuracy but using the TK Blitz. And also Madness or Sork or Balance Sage. And that's actually also a TK Blitz. TK Blitz is... as far as the healing goes, I feel like I'm only giving up a little bit of healing, so I feel like I'm pretty much just as useful healing wise with TK Blitz as without it. It's sometimes a healing gain, and you also get some damage, so it's kind of cool for a healer, because at least I find so in PvP, because it lets me actually hit a little bit plus get some pretty solid heals in. Whereas for the Madness or Balance DPS, it's a little bit of a damage reduction because the tactical is a little more core to some of the burst damage that you do, and even some of the ongoing damage that you do on that spec. But the heals actually are just as strong as they are in the healing spec. So every 15 seconds or so, I get this 4 global window where my damage goes down by a little bit, but I heal my team. It's a lot of times it's 150,000 health, and that's quite a bit of healing over, a pretty short window. The one thing though is that if a defensive cooldown blocks the hit, it also prevents the heal bounce. So there's certain defensive cooldowns that completely, mess that up, and I don't get any healing out of it at all for anyone. It's also a little tricky because the heal is a smart heal, but that doesn't necessarily mean it goes where I want it to. If I wanted to heal myself, but there's some other ally who's even lower nearby, it will heal them first. And that's not always, if I'm not careful, I can end up doing some healing, but then getting killed myself because I, expect healing that's actually not coming. Anyway, it's a lot of fun, and I could do it without it as well. And I definitely need to do a little bit more research on it, but I'm looking forward to it. Since the specs was sure I wanted to try are basically all tried now. And we're putting, the Carnage Marauder, we're putting that to the test while we're leveling. But I also wanted to make a new character just for solo PvP. So I did Baroness from the G.I. Joe universe. So did it as a full villain on the agent story. And you could certainly do her as an operative for sure, but I've done operatives recently, so I went with a Tactics Vanguard because I haven't done any Vanguards recently for a long time, actually, and not really in PvP at all, so I thought that would be really fun. It's sort of because it's a rifle user, but they're kind of short range. There's not a lot of characters in, I tend to do cosplays of superheroes and action movie stars and stuff like that. And so rifle users tend to be longer range, and if they're short range, they tend to be using pistols. So because of that, I haven't had a chance to do a lot of rifle users that weren't operatives. So so I figured Baroness would make a pretty solid option. It's been a lot of fun so far. She felt very weak before level 35 because that's when you get Cell Burst. And now that Cell Burst is here and she's like level 40, 42, yes. We just dinged 42 at the end of this last stream. Now that she's dinged, ever since she's dinged 35, the Cell Burst is here, and she's regularly like getting like number 1, number 2, or maybe sometimes number 3 on the damage charts on all the war zones and on the arenas as well. Still fairly squishy. Like, she has heavy armor, but really outside of her cooldowns, she's pretty squishy. But I can sometimes crit for 70k, so, and it's presumably going to get stronger later on as well. We've got some fairly important cooldowns and abilities that we just don't have yet. There's another hard-hitting ability that we're going to get at 47, and some of the defensive cooldowns get better once we get into the higher levels. So we don't have any of those yet. I figure I'll get her to level 45. Once she's high B, I'll chuck on some XP gear and just do nothing but go as fast through the class story as we can until we're like level 60. And because I'm doing solo, I like to be a little higher. I don't like to start PvPing right away. When I'm with Kitty, I don't mind it. The two of us, we're helping each other and we're communicating and all that stuff. And it's just fun to go ahead and get back into PvP pretty quickly. But if I'm solo, I don't want to be like level 46 and trying to go up against someone who has their tactical. So, yeah. So we've been, it's been a lot of fun. She's actually, I'm pretty happy with the cosplay. She looks pretty accurate. There's not really any, she's one of the few like female characters that just regularly wear glasses, which was pretty cool. There's no like glasses that let you see the eyes in SWTOR except for the Nightlife event, but those are like visors, not like regular glasses. And then there's like a sort of a helmet with another visor, but usually you can't see the eyes in any of the other glasses. So I just went with her as a cybernetic. So I could either have done her as a Mirror Lucan with that little metal thing that goes across the eyes. That didn't look quite right to me, so I looked through the cybernetic folks, and I went with the one that like has like the red ovals. And you can't see her eyes, but it's still pretty accurate. I'm pretty happy with it. And it's been a lot of fun so far. So, yeah, so her damage has gotten a lot better. Like I say, pretty squishy. I'm actually testing out now that she dinged level 40, I sent her a couple of defensive relics. I don't want to get like in full sort of like reverse skank tank where I have like mostly defensive stats, on an offensive. I don't want to do that, but I figured if I just change the relics out, I'll get a little bit of defense. I won't give up that much in stats baseline, and then I'll have a couple of procs that will help me be a little more survivable. And it seems to help a little bit. One of the nice things is that the relics will proc when I'm taking damage. So even if like someone, starts up combat with me and then immediately stuns me so that I can't use defensive cooldowns, my relics will proc anyway, and so I'm still getting some benefit from that. So I have one little shield that, it's not the biggest shield in the world, but it takes some damage away. And then the other one is an improvement to defense chance, and obviously that's a little random, but it seems to increase the defense by like 10-ish% when it does proc. So because I basically have 0 defense, so there's been no leveling off. It's not like I have full defense specs and adding a little more defense isn't going to add that much of a percent. Instead, I'm starting from almost 0, and so it's getting, as much as I can get for, this extra defense chance. And so that's been pretty solid. I've been pretty happy with that, but I just did that. Like, we dinged 42 today. I haven't done it. I was able to start doing that at level 40. So we'll probably keep with it, I think. I think it's going to help me at least feel better about it. And I'm giving up, obviously, some damage. I'm giving up, either a power proc or a mastery proc or both. So there's going to be some windows when I maybe am not doing as much damage. But really, the damage windows are pretty narrow with this class anyway. Basically, if Cell Burst is not up, I'm not, the damage is only so anyway. So anyway, I'm enjoying it so far. It's been a lot of fun. We'll see how things go as she gets into the higher levels and we get more abilities, but also the opponents also, they start to get their more big abilities as well, and we'll see how that goes. All right, so we'll go to the tip of the week. And I just wanted to say this for the tip of the week. Don't vendor your fitted gear necessarily. Instead, try to check it on the GTN. Some of them are worth hundreds of thousands of credits. Some of them are worth even millions of credits. I even got a purple weapon the other day, and it was being sold on the GTN for 1 billion credits. Now, whether that actually sells for 1 billion, I don't know. But there was literally only one because there just aren't that. You don't get that many purple fitted weapons anyway, and then you have to get and then there's only a few, there's more than one weapon in the game and that's like that. So there's just not that many of them around. And it was a very pretty gun. So I wasn't sure if I would keep it or not. I did actually end up putting it on the GTN, and I don't know if it's sold yet. It may not sell, but it's definitely worth at least even if it doesn't sell for almost 1 billion credits, I'm sure it will sell for like multiple millions of credits eventually. And so in my case, I actually have a special character on my main server for just that purpose. I have a banking alt, and then I have a separate one that's just for this purpose, just now taking care of all this fitted gear that's coming. And yeah, a lot of the fitted gear is not worth putting on the GTN, and it's really not worth selling. It's, quite frankly, if it's less than like 10,000, I usually just vendor it. It's only 100. But it's not really worth the time to put up something for like 2,000 or 3,000 credits and, get it back and blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's okay, but, it would add up. But I'd rather just, only put up ones that are actually people considered valuable. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, so that's my tip of the week. If you have any tips of the week, send it to OotiniCast@gmail.com before the next show. And you can win a Tonfon M83R droid or M2B9 droid code and a 450cc code courtesy of BioWare. And that'll bring us to the Mind Trap. And so, and we've been changing how we've been working this, and I've been doing it on Mastodon and Blue Sky, but then the Blue Sky one that wasn't quite working, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so there are websites out there that will basically make you a poll, and you can actually control some of the variables, and then it gives you a link, and then that's how we're going to do it. And actually, I put up the poll separately on Mastodon this time, but what I'm just going to do now, I think from now on, is just take the same link and put it up on Mastodon and Blue Sky that way. Anyway, so the Mind Trap for this week, which companion, and I can't believe I put, it must have auto-corrected or something. But anyway, I'll read it the way I meant it to be. Which companion, if they got involved in like an Earth-style democracy, would make the best politician? And so we put in Risha, Theron Shan, Shay Vizsla, and Dr. Loken. And you could also say other, if other, please reply. And so Risha actually won with 40% of the votes. Theron Shan came in second with 32% of the votes, roughly. Shay Vizsla third with 18%, and Dr. Loken with 9% of the votes. A couple people did some write-ins for Doc, for Galt, and for Lana Benico. All of those are pretty reasonable. Yeah, I think for me it was close. For me, it was between Dr. Loken and Risha. Risha has a very sort of level-headed, and she knows. She sort of is born into it because of her father and all that. And it's, it's not necessarily more of a democracy style, but she would definitely fit in, she could definitely walk in the corridors of power, that sort of thing. Theron's sort of the same thing. But for me, because he's a spy, it's I think he tries to avoid some things like that. So for me, that wasn't the one I would vote for. But I could see why he got second. Shay Vizsla, of course, is the leader is the leader of her clan, so it makes sense that people would vote for her as well. And even though the Dr. Loken got fourth, that was the one I felt was tied with Risha, because he's very much he's very comfortable with power. He understands. He understands a lot of what's going on behind the scenes and how power works and stuff like that. And I think he'd be very comfortable sort of in that sphere. But yeah, I like Risha as well, for sure. So for me, it's either Risha or Dr. Loken. And quite honestly, I'd have to look back. I can't remember exactly which one I did vote for, but it was one of those two for sure. Anyway, so thank you for everyone who voted, and so that's what. Eventually, maybe there will be like a more of a native poll in Blue Sky, in which case we might go back to doing that. And then we would also do the native one that's on Mastodon. But I think what we'll do now is we'll just make it up on one of these websites, and then we'll use the link, and then you'll see the posts on Blue Sky and Mastodon anyway. All right, and that'll bring us to the Holo feed. And really there wasn't that much, so this is going to be a fairly short episode today, between Kitty not being here so we could chit chat off each other. But also just with right now we're kind of in a bit of a news lull, and the reason we know that the devs are working on the next dev stream. It's coming soonish. They said anytime after February. Well, now it's mid-February, so it would have to be like late February or maybe even into March. We know it's coming, but presumably like they're working really hard on that. There's a lot of like last minute details that they're trying to figure out or whatever, or maybe they're trying to finalize what they can say and what they can't, and also maybe things are changing in the background. We don't know, but it's all about the next update and the things that are going to be coming out then. We know that much because that's what they've said. But we're at that weird point before the dev stream happens where they're just not saying much because they're getting ready for the dev stream, and that's when they're going to say everything. So we're not getting a lot of news at the moment, unfortunately. There was a couple things, though, that we managed to sort of dig up. There were a couple of bugs on the forums. For example, like ever since they did that back-end operation thing, like some people have had some issues with buying things for the game. Either, like buying subscriptions or buying the multi pack things, the ones like that have the cartel coins, but also some other stuff like the speeder and all that. Basically, it looked like most people, the best thing to do, yes, you can try other ways as well, but getting a hold of the SWTOR folks, like actually talking to the service team, is usually like the best way to resolve those sorts of issues. So definitely if you're having some sort of issue where like your subscription's not showing up right, or you just can't it's not letting you do something with your subscription or whatever, just get hold of the SWTOR service folks, and they will help you. That's what they're there for. The other thing that came up was that there's a bug in the game about dynamic encounters, and some of them are being completed but not counting towards the achievements, especially the one, the overarching achievements for like doing so many dynamic encounters, on Hoth, doing so many on Tatooine, that sort of achievement. And so Jackie wrote, "Hey all, a fix for this issue will be coming in a future update. The DE is not counting towards the DE Pinnacle and Infinite Conquest objectives, mostly impacted the encounters that were connected in groups of 3, like Scavenger's Tale, Road Gig, Bad Exchange, and the Wire Kitten missions." That's weird because she mentions 4, but and then she says groups of 3. I'm not sure what's up with that. Anyway, doesn't matter. Anyway, those ones. So Scavenger's Tale, Road Gig, Bad Exchange, and Wire Kitten missions. There are also a few others that were bugged in the same way, but they'll be fixed in the future patch as well. So apparently there's just certain DEs that are just not counting towards the achievements. So if you're an achievement hound, you might want to keep an eye out on that. Either possibly put it off until the fix has been done, or you can certainly do some DEs and then just kind of take note of which ones are actually counting and which ones aren't for you, and kind of work around it. So like I say, a bit of a news lull right now. The dev stream presumably will be coming soon. Hopefully it'll be coming soon. I would love it, if it had happened, say before our next show in 2 weeks. We don't know. But it could be even longer. But anyway, I am vamping at this point. So I think we're going to have to call that a show. If you'd like to play with us in the Utini Knights Guild on the Republic side of the Satil Shan server, or in our Utini Rage Guild on the Empire side, do a C-Join Utini /C-Join Utini to join the Utini channel, then let us know you're a fan of the show. You can email questions and comments about the show to utinicast@gmail.com, follow us on Blue Sky, or Mastodon. You can find contact details on our website, OotiniCast.com, which includes how to subscribe using iTunes and the rest, and we're also up on YouTube. We record the show live bi-weekly on Wednesdays, 4 p.m. Pacific, streaming at twitch.tv/OotiniCast. Our theme song is Doomsday by Jean-Paul Zogby, and thank you to the chat room. And we'll see you next show. All right, well, that was a pretty quick one. I guess let's see if we can't figure out someone to do a little raideroo on. And let me go ahead and maximize this so I can actually see everything. Yeah, so, pretty short today between Kitty being gone and just not a lot of news, unfortunately. It happens sometimes. Let's see. But it's all good. Let's see. See who, maybe someone who OotiniCast is already following. Andrew Mack. It says be right back. Looks like some we're following that are not doing SWTOR. Are they doing any other sort of Star Wars related? Okay. Well, I'm not really seeing one that I'm comfortable. Actually, no. Let's do Bones Malone's Jones. Yeah, because I've rated him on my personal one before, so I think I'm okay to do that one. So thank you for coming. And then when we do this every other Wednesday, hopefully, I'm sure Kitty will be back next week. And let's see, anything else? I think that's about it. Thank you for coming. I do appreciate it. I know I don't interact as much with the chat when it's just me, especially because it's, I get very sort of narrow visioned. But anyway, let's go ahead and say hi to Bones, and thanks for coming. Stopping the stream, stopping the recording.